Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Michelson, the Program and Membership Coordinator for the Iowa Newspaper Foundation. I want to thank you all for attending today's Online Media Campus webinar, Email Newsletter Basics. Online Media Campus is a partnership between the Iowa Newspaper Foundation, state partnering press associations you see here listed, and America's newspapers. We thank all partners for their support in making it possible to bring top quality and accessible training to newspapers across the country and Canada. All upcoming and 169 archived webinars can be found at onlinemediacampus.com. Before I introduce our presenter for this afternoon, I want to let you know we do encourage questions at any time throughout the presentation. Please use the Q&A icon or the chat box to submit your questions at any time, and we will work them in the program as we are able. Also, we will have an archive of this presentation available for you to view on the Online Media Campus website, and you'll receive an email on how to access it once it's ready. I would now like to introduce our presenter for this afternoon, Matt Larson. Matt is the president and CEO of ourhometown.com and has proudly served the newspaper industry for 12 years. His company provides a WordPress-based platform that has been customized for newspapers to help them monetize their content online. Their mission is to help community newspapers develop digital business models with tools for better storytelling and more efficient tools for local news and production. Larson leads a monthly virtual conference series where he interviews newspaper publishers from all over the country on how they are utilizing digital to connect with socially distant readers. He is also the publisher of the Our Hometown News, which is a weekly blog and video and audio podcast series, which discusses tech tips, marketing strategy, and industry news and events. Thank you for being with us, Matt. I will now hand it over to you when you are ready.
All right. Thank you so much, Erica. I appreciate that great introduction and for organizing this as always. You do a great job with these. So thank you so much for your support, and
Thank you.
proud to be associated with the Online Media Campus and America's Newspapers. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, go full screen there, and just change this over. Okay, so we've got the chat box open here, and we're going to be monitoring that. Let me make sure I do have it open. Chat. Okay, let me pull that on my second screen. So this is, with these webinars, I like them to be as interactive as possible. To me, that makes the webinar, when the publishers are engaging, asking questions, or making comments on the things I'm discussing. This is meant to be, like a conversation, not just a lecture. So as she said, we're going to be taking questions throughout. And again, we're going to be discussing email newsletter basics. This is just a combination of tips and tricks that we've been gathering for years. In the 24 years we've been working with newspapers, we've got a lot of experience with what works and what doesn't. So this is just kind of bringing all those ideas together in one presentation. And I'm thinking it's going to take about 35 minutes to cover the slides, give or take, depending on the questions. And then we'll also have time for questions at the end. But in that time, we're going to cover the 5 levels of newsletter marketing, how to grow your newsletter list, just some simple tips, things that you can implement probably today on your website to start growing that list, and then how to monetize your newsletter audience once you have built up a sizable list. Okay. And so again, right now, I'd love it if everyone could just locate the chat box. We've got a bunch of people joining, more coming in all the time. If you could all locate the chat box, please, and type your name, the paper you're with, and whether you have set up any kind of newsletter for marketing your website at any point. It could be a newsletter coming from the website. It could be something through MailChimp or Constant Contact. Or another third party. I'd just be interested to know about where you're all at with this. And drop that in at any point. And again, just please ask questions throughout via the chat, not the Q&A box. It'd be better if we could just all use the chat. Okay. So while we're waiting for some of that background on you all to roll in, I just want to cover why are newsletters important. Okay. Email newsletters are just a key component of any business marketing toolkit. At our hometown, it's a big part of how we grow our business, and I think the proof is in the pudding here. Like, how did you hear about this webinar? So this is my second question. As we see answers rolling in from Melissa at the Ozana Stockman. Welcome, Melissa, using MailChimp for weekly newsletter updates between publications. Good. Daily Grand Sentinel, Grand Junction, Colorado, daily headlines newsletter. Okay. And then we've got Susan from Coastal Point Breeze in Delaware. So you guys send out newsletters several times a week with local events and current events. Excellent. So a lot of this you guys will already know today, but we're going to get into some details. I think some of the automation opportunities might be interesting to you guys. But as a quick follow-up question here, again, how did you hear about this webinar? Was it on social media? Was it in an email newsletter? Was it on some type of industry calendar? I know that we're on the America's Newspapers industry calendar and editor and publisher. Was it in some print publication? We have a lot of our events printed in editor and publisher and pub aux for the NNA or another source. And so Melissa is saying that you heard about us on the Texas Press Association Facebook page. Okay, that's good feedback. So, I mean, the thing to keep in mind with all of this is that, social media is a good way to get the word out. But as I'm going to point out, newsletters really are better for one key reason. And we'll talk about that in 1 second. Gretchen says she did hear about us through the newsletter. I'm guessing that was America's Newspapers. So 50-50 here, social media and email so far. But I think the point that I want to make today is that this idea of sending emails, this was the original push notification. And, we fully control it, and people are tuned into their emails now more than ever. And so as long as you have a good technical relationship with the reader, in the sense that your email address is, white labeled and, it's not going to their spam box, as long as it's going right to the top of their inbox, this is a very good way to get people's attention and to get them to the site. We'll talk a little bit about opting in, double opt-in processes to make sure that you get at the top of the inbox. But here's the thing. So Texas Press, they promoted us on their Facebook page, which is great. But the thing with social media marketing that you always got to keep in mind is that we just can't rely on it. That can't be the only way that we're marketing on digital, our newspaper. We've got to take control of the communication, because all these platforms, they use these top secret algorithms that are changing all the time to serve their interests. And that's how they're distributing the content. But the email newsletter allows you to actually control the communication with your audience. And it's a one-to-one relationship. And it's really the first step to developing, a real long-term relationship through, let's say, like a paid digital subscription. But, just to look at some of the recent history of Facebook and social media, they have a very bad track record here. Back in January 2018, they made some changes to their algorithm that favored friends posts over the company pages. And so as a newspaper, you have a company page that you've signed up to promote the paper. So, these were all downranked significantly. Newspapers across the board saw a huge drop in Facebook traffic. So, that just shows you what one change in their algorithm can do to your whole business if you're depending on that for your traffic. And back in February 2021, Facebook, I don't know if you guys remember this, there's a lot of things happening in the news these days, but they actually banned the entire country of Australia from posting any news content. So all the news organizations couldn't get any of their content to appear in their followers' feeds. So that was obviously a big hit to them. They reversed that decision a few days later, but this just shows you the power they have. And then, we all hear the stories about shadow banning, censorship on these platforms. At the end of the day, they can say whatever they want in their terms of service to justify banning or down ranking any publisher or content creator. So, I mean, that's my main point there, is just that, they are private companies. They can do whatever they want. They kind of do own their audience, and we want to take advantage of it if we can, but we don't want that to be the only thing that we're using. Really, we want to use social media to promote the website, to get that direct communication. So if you can use social media to get them on your newsletter list, that's really the best use of both systems, I would say. So newsletter marketing, here's the 5 levels, as I like to think of it, in terms of the expanding brain meme. So at the most basic level, the introductory level, a lot of you are well beyond this, but for anyone that hasn't started a newsletter, sending breaking news to your subscribers is a great way to get started. Okay. And then we're going to go through all these levels all the way up to the most sophisticated, in my view, which is a completely automated system where you're sending regular news updates, not just breaking news, and you're using the newsletter to promote paying digital subscriptions. So we'll talk about the whole gradient here one by one. So level 1, sending breaking news to your subscribers. Again, I'd like to think of it as the original push notification. It's a very effective way to get people to come to your site. We've seen this for the 20 years that we've been in business. We've been sending out automated newsletters after we extract the newspaper's content from their PDF. We put it up in HTML and send out a newsletter. And over the years, there's always been that huge spike in traffic on those days, even before social media was as big as it is now, because the newsletter was going out, and people were clicking on those teasers. So it clearly works, but that's just the way to get started. Level 2, I would say, sending regular updates to paying digital subscribers. This sounds like maybe what Melissa's doing at the Ozana Stockman. So you've got digital subscribers. When they sign up for a digital subscription, they've got to give you their email to create the account. So hopefully you have a newsletter system that syncs up with that and will automatically get their email on the newsletter. And then you want to be sending these at least the frequency of the print edition. Like I said earlier, we automatically send these when we publish the content for our customers, and that's usually on a weekly basis. This reinforces the value of the subscription, especially if you are offering auto-renewing subscriptions or recurring subscriptions that, you constantly need to be demonstrating value so that when, the credit card charge shows up each month, the subscriber will just, let that go and, certainly not cancel at any point. If they're getting these emails every week and they're using the product, that's the key to maintaining that long-term relationship. And you kind of got to force them to, and you got to prompt them. Not a lot of people are just going to pull up the local newspaper website unprompted. We need some type of a reminder. It's just the nature of digital media these days. There's so many things to look at. We've got to, kind of get our foot in the door there. So, and Melissa says, yes, you do. Okay, that sounds good. That's kind of what I thought. Thank you, Melissa. Now, with this approach, level 2, I would say that you're manually generating these templates through MailChimp or Constant Contact. So I'm interested for Melissa, do you manually put these together, or are you using some type of an RSS feed from your website? Because we'll talk about that in a minute. That's an opportunity. But if you want full control over the newsletter, then you can manually build it each week. Level 3 is to offer a free newsletter sign up. Okay. And so Melissa says, yeah, you are using, sorry, just to pause real quick. You're manually putting these together and would like to switch to RSS feed. Yeah, I think any time that we can automate a process, these days we want to. So I would love to follow up with you on that if you have any questions on how that could be set up. Level 3 is about expanding your funnel, widening that sales funnel and getting people into the process more easily. So a free newsletter sign up is taking it beyond the paid digital subscribers. These first 2 levels are just to the people that are actually paying for the digital subscription. We might as well offer a free newsletter to everyone, because newsletters typically don't give away the free story, the entire story. They give away a headline and a teaser and maybe a featured image. So it's not giving away any more information than just the homepage, of the website. So it's just getting it in front of people in a different format. So a free newsletter sign up is a really good idea. Allows you to build a list of leads that we can market different things to. We can, sell the newsletter to a local advertiser. So the wider the reach on that, obviously the better. But we can also try to convert these free newsletter signups to paid subscribers. So I'm interested for the folks, Melissa, Susan, and Gretchen. Is this part of your strategy at all to offer a free sign up for the newsletter? Are you doing this and then using this to sell subscriptions? And we'll talk about how that can be done in a second here. Okay, with level 4, uh, you're taking what you're doing in level 2 and automating it. Okay, so Melissa says it is a free sign up. So that's good. So you're using this as a marketing tool to sell subscriptions. I think that's the best way to approach this. And so is Susan. Okay, thank you. Now, if we automate this process, and this can be done through an RSS feed, Melissa, then you're just saving yourself some time. I mean, really, it may not seem like a lot of time to build that template every week, especially if you're very well versed with the template builder and you can just quickly drag in the links. But every minute that we can shave off with automation is going to add up each week. So what I'm saying here is that you can use, again, any third party will integrate with your current website, because every website can create an RSS feed. You just have to plug it into the third party. So MailChimp, I love MailChimp. I used to use it personally for our marketing, but now we've switched to an integrated solution that's built into our WordPress platform. And ideally, you would have something that's integrated with the website, just so you don't have multiple places to log in. And any time that you have two systems talking to each other, there's always a potential for something to break down, or for there to be some update on one side or the other that's not compatible with the other. So, if you can have a newsletter that's just a feature of the website that's pulling in articles from your CMS, that's the better solution. And again, that's what we do with our customers. We use a WordPress plugin that automatically populates the templates. Okay, and we got some more feedback from Gretchen. She says, we do offer a free newsletter. We can now separate out our subs and non-subs and are looking for a way to tailor each more specifically. Okay, so you're ahead of me. That's exactly what we're going to talk about in a second, how you can offer those targeted offers. It's very smart to do that. I would say it's a little sloppy to just send out, promotions to everyone, including the people that are already paying. That can create a little buyer's remorse. So level 5 is full automation, sending out regular news updates, both to the paying digital subscribers and your non-paying newsletter subscribers. But the thing with this is that you can, with some tools, segment the audience. So this was like right on cue, Gretchen. You can segment the audience into 2 lists: paying subscribers or the free signups. And you want to do this if you're going to start sending out promotional offers. And the way we like to do it is the simplest way that we can imagine, which is to create one template. And that pulls in your teasers, your headlines for the weekly update. And the newsletter looks virtually the same for both audiences. The only difference is our system will automatically pull those 2 lists, segment the audience into 2 lists, and send just a little banner at the top of the non-paying newsletter subscribers. And, that tries to bring them back in if they're an expired subscriber or if they've never subscribed. And so you're not creating 2 different templates and dealing with, creating 2 different newsletters. You really just create one newsletter, and then it inserts that banner ad, just on the non-paying emails. And you can target them a couple different ways. Let's look at actually an example here from the Acorn. They did this. Actually, they did do this manually. They weren't using the banner insert that I was just describing, but the concept is the same. They sent out this specific email just to the non-paying newsletter subscribers. So they didn't have any news on this. It was really just a pitch to the email subscribers. They offered them, they used a coupon code. A coupon code is really great way to track your ROI on these campaigns. So you can know exactly how many subscriptions were created, and then we can look at the results after, which is what I did here. So, and what their offer was to offer a 30% discount on the $36 a year for the annual subscription, down to $25. And they ran it for about a month. The promotion was live, so they sent out a couple newsletters pitching over 4,000 non-paying newsletter subscribers, and it generated 119 subscriptions just sending out one or two emails, setting up the coupon code. It's really not a lot of time invested, considering the fact that they generated almost $3,000 in recurring annual revenue just from this campaign. So I think you're definitely on the right track there, Gretchen. And then also, just to point this out, I think it's smart to target the audience slightly different depending on their history. So if they are an expired subscriber, you might want to think about having 3 lists. And again, with our WordPress newsletter plugin, it will automatically segment your newsletter list into these audiences. But if you can't automatically do it, manually doing it works too. That's how some customers used to do it. So if you can separate out the people that used to subscribe, but they're no longer an active subscriber, then call it a welcome back promo. And you have a different coupon code for this, welcome back 2020 or something like that. 12 months for $28. So it's a slightly different discount. They ran it for just 1 week. They offered this in February. And again, just targeted it to the emails that had expired subscriptions. And this generated 16 new, welcome back, people that were expired that came back. So that's $450 in recurring annual revenue. Okay, so those are just some real concrete ways that you can, generate revenue from this. Now let's talk about growing your newsletter list. So, this is kind of something that you would probably do before you start running those promos. So this is a little bit out of order, but once you have at least an automated newsletter going out, so you don't have to worry about it each week, you've kind of got that process in place. Then it's just about growing that audience and getting more people to sign up for and opt in for those emails. So we're going to talk about 5 primary tactics that we've seen with our customers. The first, simple sign up form on the homepage. So this is important, the way this is set up. And I do want to ask right now, let's have a quick poll. I'll get this out there now so we can get our answers while I'm describing this. How many of you have a free newsletter sign up right on your homepage, either on the right column here or somewhere on the homepage so that's easy to find? Okay. Melissa says they do have that. Okay, good. I think it's important to have it on the homepage and not just have a button that says sign up to our newsletter that goes somewhere else. Let's have the form right there so they can just put their name and email right there. Okay, now with these forms, one thing you want to double check and make sure that you have as part of the system is a double opt-in. Okay, this is something that you can set up a newsletter without. So it's important to make sure that I think MailChimp automatically offers this, but other systems, you don't necessarily need a double opt-in. And just to be clear, a double opt-in is basically a 2-step process. They would opt in first by putting their email in and saying subscribe and, checking this box saying I accept terms of service and so on. And then the second opt-in is when they receive an email confirmation that they actually have to open and click a link. So they are not actually subscribed to the newsletter until they do that second step. And that's an important thing. So there's a couple things you want to pay attention to. First of all, you want the user experience to be very clear. So after they put their name and email in, then you want it to go to a page, a confirmation page that says, check your email right now. You are not subscribed until you click on the link in that email, and mention check your spam folder, because that first email could end up in the spam and then they'll never hear from you again unless they find it and opt in. Also, another thing to avoid the spam folder that we've seen a lot of success with is including the first name. So, it's always a balancing act with getting people to sign up for anything. And, you might have people that say, you want as little fields as possible. So let's just ask for the email. And I think that part of that is true. You don't want to ask for their address and, all this personal information. Even though that could be useful for marketing, we really just want to get their email and their first name, because then with most newsletter systems, you can have the first name associated with the email and then automatically pull in the first name field into your template each week. So then it's directly addressing the newsletter to them. So, it'd be like, hi, Susan, check out this week's top headlines from the paper. And then, you would have your list of teasers. If you have the person's name in the email, it's just a thing about, with dealing with different email clients. They're going to have all these different rules for putting you in spam or putting you, like we all know, Gmail has all these different folders now. They might put you in the promotions tab to avoid getting there and staying in the primary inbox. These are two things that you want to do: the double opt-in and the first name included in the email. Okay, so let's move on to the second way to grow your newsletter list is a pop-up form. Now, how many of you have a pop-up form somewhere on your website? Could be on the home page, could be on the internal pages. I'm just curious where you all are with that. Now, the way these things work, for those of you that don't know, they usually pop up and then they place a cookie on the user's browser, so they're not too annoying. No one really likes pop-ups, but sometimes they are necessary. And if you can do them in a tasteful way, so they certainly don't pop up every time you go to the website or every article you look at, but we do want to offer it to them. Just, if they do X out, then don't show it to them for probably another 30 days is a good time frame. Or maybe you never show it to them again. But these are all options with these pop-ups. And, that can be an effective way. If for whatever reason they didn't see it on your homepage, this is just a little bit more in your face and can be more effective for getting signups. So Gretchen is saying no. And I'm guessing that's just, is that a strategic decision or is it a technical issue? Like you can't technically have that, or you don't like those pop-ups? I'm curious what your perspective is on that. Because definitely, not all these things are for everyone, but this is a pretty straightforward idea. Okay, just haven't done it, Melissa. Okay, got it. This third idea I like. Now let's do a quick poll here for anyone that's listening. What kind of a paywall do you guys have on your website? Does anyone have a free website here? Do you have a metered paywall? Do you have a hard paywall? Let's just get a sense of where everyone is with this. Okay, and so Gretchen says about the pop-up, she just hasn't thought of it. Need to explore if we have the technical capability. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I think it's something that once you know that it's possible, you definitely want to think about the user experience and do it in a tasteful way. Like I said. Okay. So Gretchen, you have a metered paywall. The difference between a metered and a hard paywall is a metered, the user gets to choose 2 or 3 stories to read each month for free. A hard paywall, they can't read anything without logging in. Okay, so the metered allows them to not pay for a subscription, but still get some free content. Okay, great. So we got a nice variety here. Susan has a free website, no paywall, and Melissa has a hard paywall. So I'd pose this to you, Susan, just to get your feedback, because we work with a lot of papers and some of them are free in print. And so their digital model is, for a long time, they had it totally open and free access, but they're starting to see the value in something like this. If you're not going to charge for your content, because remember, when you have a paid paywall, digital subscription, then you're going to get their email when they sign up for that. But this is a way to get email even without them paying. If you have just a registration wall, then you just ask the users, look, one time I need you to give me your email, just sign in one time, create a password, and then you get unlimited free content. So it's still free. It's still a free website, but at least you get their email, and then you have this method of communication with them outside of Facebook and all the other platforms. So I'd be curious, like Susan, if that would be of interest to you, because it does create a small barrier to very casual traffic. If you have someone that's coming in from a Google link that never looks at your site and probably will never come back, they may not sign up for a free account, but your core audience will, and then you have their email again. So, and the other thing I like to point out with this is it's a great way to step into a paid model. We actually had a recent webinar with two publishers that have free print newspapers that launched paywalls on their website. So they didn't stop at the registration wall, they went all the way to a metered paywall. And I thought it was really interesting talking to them. You can check it out on editorandpublisher.com, or just shoot me an email and I'll send you a link to it. But what they did is they stepped into the paid model by first launching a registration wall that required people to sign up for a free account to read unlimited stories. Then they got all these emails into their system, and then they turned on the paywall. And so now they can market to that list of emails that were interested enough to sign up for a free account, but maybe they haven't purchased the paid yet. Okay, so does anyone, we've already heard from Susan, Melissa, and Gretchen, who have been talking the most, which I really appreciate. But is there anyone else on the call that has some type of a metered registration wall to just collect emails and get to know a little bit more about your reader base? Because otherwise, it's just a totally open website. You really don't know anything about your readers. And, I think that can come with some downsides. So I'm just going to quickly actually bring up this link and just drop it in the chat so you guys can all check this out. This was a really interesting session. Okay, make sure I share it with all the attendees. Okay, and so Gretchen says you don't have, but moving to a dynamic paywall, and I believe that there will be the case when we make the switch. Gotcha. Okay, so now just to get back on track with this case study here, this is one of the papers that we interviewed in that editor and publisher webinar, the Acorn. So this is a really interesting thing. And so like we can always learn from history. When things got really bad with the shutdown last year, a lot of papers took down their paywall, right? And, obviously I hope that never happens again. But if for whatever reason you want to take down the paywall, there's some, national issue, or, you just want to try taking down the paywall just to see what the traffic would be there. Uh, I would try just keep at least the registration wall in place. Don't open it up entirely, because then that allows you to collect these emails. And the Acorn collected 4,700 emails during the early period of the shutdown, when they were talking about coronavirus a lot, and they wanted all that content to be free. They just asked users to take a second to sign up for a free account, and they have since put up the paywall again and successfully converted 236 of those people to a paid account. And the first account that they ever had with this paper's website was the free account. So they were not a subscriber before, but getting your foot in the door with the free account during that intro period, got generated enough interest to convert them to an actual paid subscriber. Okay. Now, I think this is the fourth tactic for growing your newsletter list: extended meter views. So earlier we heard from Gretchen, who has a metered paywall. So I'm curious, Gretchen, do you have anything like this? Because this idea came from a publisher we work with in New York. And what he wanted to see was an opportunity to gather emails for a newsletter that he's very focused on growing through the metered paywall. So the way this works is you've got the normal meter activity, which the way it behaves is it starts with, I think they have 4 free articles a month, and it counts down as people that are not logged in are using the website and clicking on different articles. It's tracking them and it's showing them a count, so you have 1 free article left. It's letting them know ahead of time. But then once they've used that last article, they hit the paywall, and this is what it looks like. So it's asking them to log in. But it's also giving them this other option to provide an email and get an additional 6 views. So this is a way to kind of combine the registration wall with a metered paywall that you might already have on the site. So something along these lines is, it's just kind of a neat freemium model where, it's free, but they do have to give you something for the extra content. Okay, so again, anyone on the call, I'm just curious if this is something that you're using or that you've considered using with your metered paywall. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so I think this is the last 5th tactic for growing your newsletter list, which is category specific newsletters. Okay, earlier, one of the most impressive newsletters that I saw was, I really liked what Susan is doing in Delaware. So you have several newsletters going out per week with local news and current events. I'm curious, do you have different category specific newsletters, or is it just one newsletter that everyone signs up for? Because we have seen some people have a lot of success with this, like the sports newsletter, or really whatever your market demands. You can just go to your statistics and you should be able to look up what is the most popular category on my website. And that's often sports, obits, and local news for our customers. So, you could do an obit newsletter. I think a lot of people gravitate towards sports first. That's usually something that they will focus on. And then with our system, which is integrated with the website, you can just choose the category all within the newsletter builder. But if you're using a third party with an RSS feed, then you would just have to tailor the RSS feed to go only send the sports stories. So this is totally doable by topic or category. And then you just make sure that you get all the articles that you want in this newsletter into that category. And, you can set it up for any type of content, really. Okay. And so Susan is saying that, to follow up on my question, are you doing anything like this? Yes, people can sign up and tell us what kind of news they want to read. For example, they select a specific town in our coverage area and get news related to that town. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So if you're covering a large area, we have some publishers that are, let me jump out of this for a second. Nordak Publishing. This is a multi-publication website. They've got 4 papers on one site. So they come in here and they can choose which paper they want to subscribe to. So they don't have the category specific, but they do, have this publication and regional specific. So really quick, Susan, Coastal Point newspaper. Let me just Point newspaper. I'd love to look at your site and let's take a look at how you're doing this, because specific town in our coverage area. So could you possibly direct me? I'm going to look right now, see if I can find it. Where is the newsletter sign up? Let's see how quickly I can find it on the homepage, because I think you did say it is on the homepage. Let's see here. This is a little bit on the fly here, so it may take me a second. Let me just start again. I'm not seeing it right. It's okay. Point mail. Okay. So at the very bottom, point mail sign up. Okay. So this is a great thing to talk about. I want to emphasize this. I think it's great that you've got this newsletter, but you yourself said it's at the very bottom, and how many people are actually getting to the bottom of your site. That is a question you could maybe answer with statistics, but it's difficult to say. So, I mean, I would just say if you could get a button somewhere at the top of your site, I think you would get a lot more signups. I think what you're doing is great, the frequency that you're sending it, but I bet you would get even more signups if we had it featured higher, or if there was a way to get this sign up page even like a little sign up form right on your homepage, so they don't even need to click anywhere. You might see an increase in the subscriptions. So yeah, okay, that's good. That's good that you're running ads at least. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is just kind of a live demo. I thought it would be kind of fun to look at someone's specific example. So if I go to sign up here, I'm gonna create a password. Okay, and then if I go to sign in, hopefully, whoops, okay, slightly longer password. Um, okay, it's not letting me do it. Let me just do 1 second. I'm just going to create a super long password. Um, passwordsgenerator.net. If any of you don't use that, it's a great way to create super secure passwords. Okay, well, I'm sorry. This is asking me to log in, so let me register here. Okay, so this is Susan's sign up process. So I would create a username. Hopefully that'll just work for that. I don't think I actually need to do it. Now I see the sign up page. So this is what you're talking about, right? These are your mailing lists. And this is good. So you kind of give a quick explainer on what kind of content they can expect to receive. They're automatically opted in for all three. I do like that approach, but you could also require them to opt in for specific things. So, and then you've got, I'm not a robot. That's another good way to cut down on spam. Okay, so I thank you very much for being a volunteer for that little demo, Susan. I think that's a great approach that you've got with that multi list sign up. Okay, and so then this slide is just showing you what I showed you on the live site earlier, where you can have multiple lists and then just one email. So it's really quick for them to sign up for breaking news from multiple categories. Okay, so we're kind of running out of time here. I'm going a little bit over. I appreciate everyone's patience. These are great questions and comments. Just keep them coming. But we're going to wind it up here with the last point, which is monetizing your newsletter. And we've been talking about it on and off throughout the whole thing. So I won't go into this too much more. But I think the number one priority, it sounds like most people here have a paid print product and a paywall. So your goal with the newsletter, number one goal is probably converting subscribers. So just expanding the funnel or widening the top of the funnel, the awareness level, developing the interest and getting them to make that decision through the targeted promotions and actually take action with a coupon code. That's the logic behind that. And then there's also this opportunity for local advertising. So let's throw this out to the crowd. How many of you all are running display ads of some kind, banner ads on your newsletter? Because you can get all the same stats that you can from your website. So there's no reason this can't fold into an existing package that you're selling for like a web ad. So Melissa and Gretchen both say yes, running ads in the newsletter. So are those the exact same ads that you're running on the website? So it's kind of like a 2-for-1 deal. You design a leaderboard ad, and then you say that leaderboard ad will show up on the homepage and in the newsletter. Is that how you're doing it, or is it specific? Okay, so the exact same ads. And then in terms of delivering an ROI, do you look at your website and your newsletter stats? Are you able to put those together into one number that says, look, last month you got this many impressions across the website and the newsletter, and you got this many clicks across both? Because with most newsletter programs, they're going to measure all this for you in each email. So, okay, that's great. Good to hear, Melissa. Gretchen says in some cases, in others, they are not on the site. So you're selling just newsletter ads in those cases. That's interesting. I'm curious. So that's probably just a budget issue with the advertiser, I would assume, because why wouldn't you want the ad on the website if it was just part of the deal? It would be my question. But I think to have different, a la carte options makes sense. Compiling stats is great job if you have a teen on staff. Oh, thank you, Melissa. So this is some practical advice on how to get this done. Yeah, so compiling stats isn't always going to be an automated thing that you can just, flip a switch and send these stats to your advertiser. So you do need someone to go in there, but it's a pretty straightforward job that you could develop a process for. If you have a teen on staff or some kind of intern, I think this is a good job for them to just gather these stats into a spreadsheet and send them out. This can go a long way, just delivering and maintaining contact with your advertisers on a monthly basis, sending their stats. I mean, you guys all know this, but if you're not already sending, the monthly open and click rates, I think it's something to look into. Okay, native advertising. This is the last thing I want to point out, and I'm curious if anyone's doing anything like this. I know a lot of industry publications do this. I really am impressed with what Editor and Publisher does. We're actually a sponsor of Editor and Publisher. We work with them a lot. And what they do is basically native advertising for us through their newsletter. So the last webinar we did with them, they promoted through their daily newsletter, which has a bunch of headlines, talking about news relevant to the industry, but it's also got our upcoming event in there, and it's presented as just content. He does clearly label it as a sponsored webinar, but it is great content. These webinars that we do where we bring together real life publishers to talk about their experience, other publishers can listen to that. So to me, as an advertiser, this is a very effective way to get our name out there, to demonstrate our expertise, because we're talking about real solutions that we're providing to, weekly and daily newspaper publishers. We're not just saying, hey, look at the latest widget that we built. It's like these are case studies. So I don't know if there's anyone out there doing anything like this, but if it could play very well into a package deal where you sell a sponsored or native advertising section on your website. You have the advertisers submit articles where they talk about, let's say it's a landscaper, they could put an article together talking about best time of year to seed and best techniques for keeping your grass green and these record hot temperatures out west. And you can have that article run on the website, and then if you have your newsletter set up like we've talked about, then you could just have that article automatically pull into the newsletter each week. We got a question from Melissa. I would like to know how much to really charge for newsletter ads and for sponsored content. So that's a great question. I kind of want to stay away from that. I wouldn't even want to put a number because I don't personally have the experience pricing these things. We work with newspaper publishers and we support them in the technical setup of these things, but I actually rarely talk to them about their pricing. It's probably a shortcoming, something I should be doing more. I will try to find out for you, Melissa, and see if I can get some info on a few specific publishers that are doing this. But that's a great question. Thank you. Okay, and as I mentioned, this will automatically pull into the newsletter template if you assign a category to these articles, like sponsored content category, and then you set up your newsletter template to pull in articles from that category. It'll just work. Okay, so that's all that I've got for the presentation today. Again, sorry it went a little longer than I thought, but we've got some time for questions at the end here. While I wait for those to roll in, I just want to give you all a little bit more background on my company, Our Hometown. We manage hundreds of newspaper websites and native apps across North America. We've been doing this for 24 years. And we have a WordPress-based platform that has been customized for newspapers. So all the plugins, all the software updates are just handled by us, but you get to use the really user-friendly CMS WordPress. And this is a family business, again, founded in 1997. And our number one priority is customer support. I always say this, and these are some of the ways that we really live that mantra. First of all, one of our most popular services is to extract the articles from the print PDF to HTML. And I mentioned this, I think, earlier briefly, but this is something we've been doing from the very beginning. And still, 80% of our customers love this. I didn't think it would still be as popular as it is today, but people, often don't want to deal with updating the website. So if you're in that boat, you should definitely contact me. We'll set up a free prototype for you. The other thing with our focus on customer support is that the platform is constantly evolving. So the newsletter system we have today looks nothing like what it did 10 years ago, because we're always getting ideas from publishers on how they're using it. What ways can we help them use it more effectively, or can we automate some of the ways that they're doing it? And the segmentation of the newsletter audience into those 3 lists is a very good example of that. We had a publisher that was manually doing that. They would export their subscriber list and do a remove duplicate on a spreadsheet. I mean, it was like this whole process. Then we heard that they had success though doing that, doing those targeted offers. So we turned it into a plugin. And that's the nice thing about being on WordPress. It's very customizable. And if a plugin doesn't exist on the platform that you need, we can often just go download it or modify what we have. So again, I really appreciate everyone's time today and for taking this time out of your day to hear me out. So I just wanted to, as a small token of my appreciation, offer you all a free prototype. If you're interested, just go to ourhometown.com. I'll drop this link in the chat, but you just fill out this short form, tell us a little bit about your paper, and you can even upload a recent PDF, and we'll turn that into a website. We're going to use the same process that we use for our other customers on a weekly basis to extract the articles and put them in HTML. We'll do that to create a rapid prototype for you in just a couple days. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested on that. And yeah, it should take less than a week for us to turn that around. A couple other things I just want to mention. We've got a lot of events at our hometown. This is another element of our focus on customer support. We are heavily invested in training our customers, and because we're digital people, we're not doing the training. We're finding the best trainers in the industry and setting you up with them. So Kevin Slimp, we have an ongoing sponsored webinar series with him. So the next one that we have, we do these monthly. The next one is July 29th, and it's going to be on getting people to pick up your paper. I've actually seen this talk from him before, and it's wonderful. He talks about different quantitative ways to improve the design of your paper, the layout, the content you're covering, how to do surveys and understand what your audience is interested in. So this is a great session. Also doing one on InDesign, mastering InDesign styles on September 9th. And then we're going to be announcing the remaining 2021 schedule shortly. And if anyone is at all considering switching to our hometown and you want to see that prototype set up for us, I can get you into one of these sessions. But if any of you decide to become a customer, then you would have full access, free for all your staff to all of Kevin's webinars. We pay for each ticket, and he charges about $70 per seat for each of these trainings. So this is a great value that we just like to offer our customers as a thank you for being with us. Okay, and I'm going to pause here. We got a question from Melissa. We're a small 1,500 circulation weekly paper. We come out on Wednesdays. We send out an update newsletter on Mondays. We just picked that day out of a hat. Do you recommend a better day or additional newsletter? If I was going to choose a day out of my hat, it would be the same day that the print edition comes out, just because you can promote the fact that the print edition is now on the stands. It's, going to be on your front porch or whatever. And it just, I think it presents just a little bit more of a united front on the marketing. So that would be my only suggestion with that. But if you're going to do it on a different day, I think you want some unique content, like, because what you're doing is you're publishing your newsletter 4 or 5 days after the print edition has come out. So I think sending the newsletter out with the current print edition stories on the day that print comes out makes sense. But maybe you keep the Monday update to just publish, online only content or breaking news, things that aren't going to be, that are ahead of the print edition. In other words, that would be how I would approach that. But again, we would love to invite anyone to join us for Kevin's upcoming events. So if you're interested, just shoot me an email or just drop a message in the chat and I'll follow up with you. Okay, and one other event before you all go, I just want to promote, we've got an upcoming webinar, another one with editor and publisher, where we're going to be talking about apps, audio news, and how it all relates to the growing mobile audience that we're seeing with our customers. It's not uncommon for even the most remote publisher in the most rural community, that you can picture, to have 70% of their traffic coming from mobile. And this is a trend that's just been increasing ever since the introduction of the smartphone. It's now the vast majority of traffic to local news sites. And so in our view, all of our publishers that we work with, we really try to help them focusing on the design of the digital experience around mobile, both having a mobile responsive website. That's step one. So if your site right now, when you go to it on a mobile browser or you open it from the newsletter that you get on your phone, that's going to open it in a mobile browser. If the text is really small and hard to read, then you're not on a responsive website. So you want to make sure that you can change that and get it responsive, because so much of the traffic is just naturally coming from mobile. But then you can get even more people coming from mobile if you can get them to download a native app. That's a great way to pull in people, especially if you have push notifications enabled. And these are just ways that, the audience is changing. So we just need to be thinking about our digital presence, to best suit their needs. And then also just a quick mention, another thing that we're really focused on to serve the growing mobile on-the-go audience is to offer audio content so that people can listen to the news while they're on the go, they're driving, they're hiking. They don't need to be staring at their phone. They could be on their phone and still accessing the website through mobile, but they're listening to the news. So we're going to talk to some publishers that are doing both of those things. They've got native apps, they've got responsive design, and they've got audio playlists of the news. So we're going to be announcing this with the editor and publisher, and we'll have a sign up on their website shortly. So stay tuned for more on that. Okay, so thank you all very much again. I appreciate you setting this up, Erica, and really Susan, Melissa, Gretchen, thank you so much for your participation. I really appreciate your feedback. And Melissa, I would definitely love to follow up with you if you have questions on the RSS feed for MailChimp, or if you'd like to see what we could do for you on WordPress. But that's all I've got for now. So I'll turn it quickly back over to Erica. Erica, do you have anything else you want to chime in on?
Well, I do not, but thank you, Matt, for this afternoon, and thank you everyone who had attended and asked questions and a lot of interaction. That was all great. I see there are not any more questions, but I can just wrap this up a bit. And at the close of this session, there will be a survey, and if anyone could submit their answers to it, that helps us a lot with planning future events. And just a reminder, you'll receive a follow-up email with instructions on how to access this webinar later this afternoon. So everything was great, Matt. Thank you so much again. And thank you everyone who attended. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thank you, Erica. You too. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Take care.